he was known with Rossellini and Luchino Visconti as the father of the neo-realistic movement in Italy. Now the war is over and neo-realism is on the scene. What that means is realistically shot stories of real things. Not exactly what the Italian audience wanted. They wanted happy endings and musicals and a Technicolor and such. But the Italian film, the thing that made neo-realism stand out and become a phenomena that was appreciated throughout the world was three things. One is the freedom of expression. No one in the government told them what they could or couldn't say. Two, social comment. They all were making social comments. Many of them had suffered under the fascist regimes, and they were now be able to make social comments. And poverty. They had no money. They had to scratch and scramble to get the camera, get the film. And so it started like that with the regular people in the streets as actors. If they didn't have an actor that was right for the role, they just grabbed someone and put him in. Italy, all of Italy, maybe more in Rome and even in Naples for sure, they're almost all actors, aren't they? People off the street. You can get a pretty good something out of that. I was in a scene at San Siro, that's what I was thinking of, in Milan, when a horse race, the finish of a horse race, they shot the horses running that stuff, but in this particular scene, it was of the crowd, and the director ran behind the camera and said, "Here comes number 5's the winner." And so the camera just held on this crowd. Okay, what it was that everyone knew that there was going to be a challenge, and number 5 was not going to win, but number 3 was going to win. So the first time they did it, and he didn't want to waste a lot of time, he had a lot of people, maybe 100 people there. The first time he did it, number 5's the winner. And to a person, women too, tore up their tickets, ate the tickets, mashed their hat, stamped on the floor. They all lost. He said, no, there's got to be some winners so that later when the winners lose, then the appeal, you see it's dramatic, and he has to explain it to them. But everyone realized, all the actors realized, or the extras realized, it's better to lose than to win as far as drama goes, right? So he had to assign winners who would eventually be losers, and have to assign winners, or losers who would eventually be winners. So it was, you can just tell, you can pick up almost anyone on the street, and if they're not arguing with you about get off of my sidewalk, you can put them in the film. For his first major international hit was Shusha, which means shoeshine in the vernacular of Rome, when he's about the kids who've polished the boots of the American soldiers that were there. And he won a special award for that in the Academy Award, but not an Oscar. I don't think they even had foreign Oscars then, or if not, it was the first recognition of the Italian and of foreign films in the Oscars situation. And he took two kids that he had met, two kids who inspired the story in Rome. One was an orphan, and one was a guy who lived in an elevator in Lombardy, which I suppose is Milan. That's in Lombardy. And they were in Rome, and he made this story of these two guys that would shine shoes of the soldiers, and whatever interesting stories would take place there. And then when they got 300 or 400 lira, they go into Villa Borghese and rent a horse for an hour, and that became their expensive and happy time of their life, was to be on this horse, two guys on a white horse. And they had a situation where one of the boys had to cry about someone got caught or something, I forget what it was, and Vittorio knew that the kid had a dog, and he said, that dog can't come on the set, so the boy didn't bring him anymore, but they said, your dog came today, he must have followed you, but we can't have it, so take him around the back, and they pretended they were shooting the dog, and the tears flowed down this kid's face, and then the big happy, this wasn't in the film, this was just how to get an actor to cry, The following film was his probably best known hit, was Bicycle Thief. which oddly enough in Italy is titled Ladri di Biciclette, which means bicycle thieves or thieves of bicycles. But I guess it does sound better, bicycle thief, because we really only care about one, two actually, but one at a time. It's about a man whose bicycle allows him to get a job. You see his family is pawning things like their linens and trying to make ends meet. But this guy has a bicycle and he can go places, and he's a man who puts up the affiche, you know, the pastes them up on the wall, the announcements and ads and current films that are on. And so this man with the bicycle is very happy. He's got a son, and the son goes with him. He's very proud of him. And one day, his bicycle is stolen. And he even chases the guy who stole it. He sees the actual theft. And it's very sad because now without the bike, he loses his job. And they go to San Siro, which is the big football stadium, soccer football stadium, and his son witnesses him stealing another bicycle. Himself, the man whose bike was stolen, he steals that bicycle, and he's caught. He doesn't get very far, about a block, and they catch him, and they spit on him, and they hit him, and his son defends him, kind of, not exactly defends him, but doesn't let him get hurt. His son is a little teeny guy, and 10 years old maybe, and his son helps him, and that's what allows the crowd to let him go. All right, get out of here, get away from us. Now, it was the crowd coming out of the stadium that caught him. And David Lean, who, as you know, makes Lawrence of Arabia, makes wonderful, wonderful films packed with people and crowds and such. David Lean asked DeSica, how did you shoot that film outside the stadium with all those people? How did you control those people? How did you get that crowd like that? That's a huge crowd, maybe 50,000 people. How'd you get that? He said, wait until the game was over. Then I said, go, steal the bike. And then the actors would infiltrate the crowd, and they captured him and stuff. And at the end of the film, after the boy has seen his father steal the bike, get caught, get vilified, get spit on, get crushed, the boy and he are walking home. And there's a scene where the son just bothers the father. Why did you do it? Why did you do it? And the father hits him, smacks him in the face. Not hit him, but slaps him to stop him. And the boy's just crushed. And the next cut, they're walking away from the camera. This is the end of the film. On opposite sides of a little narrow street, on opposite sidewalks, walking away. Not into the sunset, but just, again, nothing has been solved. And so the great New York Times movie critic, Bosley Crowther, spoke, and he said, in his review of the film, he said, only a European master, only the great DeSica would have the nerve to have a jump cut at the end of his film showing the gulf between father and son walking without going from the encounter in the street over to the sidewalks. Only the great. Vittorio said, I died. The sun went down. I couldn't have time to make that shot. I wanted so much to make the shot of them parting and going apart. I had it planned. I wanted everything. I could have a camera, quick cuts, 2 cuts. They're going. The sun was gone. That was it. So he just said, well, they're walking. So anyway, sometimes that happens where the director doesn't intend something and other people read into it. And that's, I suppose, the mark of good filmmaking, that you have them so involved with the characters that they're not jarred by some mistake you felt you made. Another film that followed in that area was a fantasy that he made called Miracle in Milan, about people who live in the hobo jungle. And a young boy who's an orphan is very bright and smiley and says, good morning, good morning, good morning, and he's very happy. He doesn't know that it's the worst, the dregs. And they come in conflict with one of the big companies in Milan who want to take that hobo jungle and move it out, get rid of it and develop that land. And so there's the time when they go to the moguls and the bosses office to plead their case, that everyone's happy there. Anyway, it was a fantasy. It was beautifully done. There was lots of good, funny things in it. And to the point where there's a statue in this area, this old kind of abandoned area, of a woman in a fountain, a ballerina. And she dances, the little boy, not the boy, the young man who's grown now, thinks that she's real, and she becomes real. And there's a lot of good, very nice things in it. However, it was a terrible flop in Italy because they all of them, when the firemen come and hose them off the land, they fly away on the street sweepers' broomsticks. And the critics in Italy said, where are they flying? To Russia? Is that where they're going? They didn't get it. His next film was Umberto D. If you remember, his father's name was Umberto. Umberto D. He named it after his father. It was his favorite film. It was about a white-collar worker, worked as a professor. He was a pensioner. He was over 60. The pensioners were making like a strike. They were making a protest. And at one point, he wanted to start this shot inside a crowd of people, jammed together. Okay, come on, get together, get together. Well, Italians, if they're gonna gesture, they gotta gesture big, they gotta be spread out. And he said, no, they gotta jam in together. Oh, give me a rope. And he got this rope, and he put it around 50 or more people, and then just tightened it up until they were jammed like this, and they were yelling, help, help, you gotta help us, we're workers, blah, blah. And he was shooting down at them. And it was a marvelous, marvelous shot. But he had his tricks, how to get things the way he wanted them. Umberto D. was the most realistic of all in a sense that dealt with a very serious problem. What to do with pensioners where the pension doesn't cover anything. The guy gets sick, the professor gets sick. And the funny thing is he really lucked out with the professor. He got a professor from, I think, Umbria somewhere, kind of a crusty old face. And he was kind of a crusty old cranky guy, but he did what he was told by DeSica. And he has a little dog with him. Flake is the dog's name. And this dog, they had 3 dogs actually. They painted them to look the same. I mean, one after the other. They ran away or whatever it was, but the Flake, one couldn't do it, whatever it was. Anyway, there was a scene where a friend of his who's in the same straits says, you got to beg, if you're really not eating, because he was getting sick by not eating, you got to stand in a corner. People will drop coins in your hand, if you really need it. And you have this dog, Flake, who can hold a hat. And the dog can sit like this, and he holds his hat in his hand. Well, that's perfect. He said, you're going to make more than coins. You're going to make bills. So in Italy, I don't know if you know this or not, but when you feel for rain, like this. In Italy, they feel like this for some reason. Feel if the rain falls on their hand. So there's this wonderful scene right by the Pantheon, which any of you have toured Rome, I'm sure you've been there. Right by the Pantheon, by the curve of the Pantheon, he decides he's going to do it and gets Flake, hold the hat, because he wasn't going to be right there. It's funny, when he was down there telling Flake to do it, someone came by and he put his hand out like this, and as the man started to look at him, he went like, oh, I wonder if it's raining. I mean, he just couldn't do it. It's very touching stuff in this thing. And at the end, he tries to board the dog, giving the people some money. I'm going on a trip, and I'm going to be gone for a long while. Now we know what's coming. He's going to commit suicide, and he doesn't want the dog, to be lost. So, and then he gets about 2 blocks away, and he hears these people yelling, and the dog's yelping, and he just can't take it. So he goes back and he gets Flake. And I'm leading to one point here about this great film. Is down, and there's no relief. He goes to the hospital, and it's just really bad. But life is bad, but he has this dog, and he takes this dog, and his trains, right at the train crossing, they go by, and he's going to step in front of it with the dog, but the dog somehow knows this, and the dog backs out of his arms and drops to the ground and runs off. And he says, no, Flake, Flake. And he goes after Flake. And now the music cuts in, and he's tried to give this dog to a little girl who liked it, and the woman thought, what is that, a dirty dog? No, this Flake, Flake, and he kind of goes after him, and Flake goes away, and then he stops, and then he goes over towards, and then he goes away and he stops. And so he leads them away from the train, which doesn't solve the problem of his being broke, doesn't solve the problem of the pension not being enough, doesn't make a happy ending, but at least there's a little upturn. It didn't happen today. That day, he didn't commit suicide. What he does tomorrow, the film's over, you know. What it is a truly good rap for a social conscious statement to make is do something about this. Do something so this man doesn't have to go the next day and commit suicide. The next film was an episodic film. I'm kind of going in order. It was called The Gold of Naples, which is from a book of Naples short stories by a man in which even Vittorio acted in one of them, the most hilarious of all of the little episodes. There are 4 or 5 episodes, but what was very significant is this: it was the first time he worked with Sophia Loren. She played the part of a pizzaiola, and they're like street vendors with pizzas about that big around, about that big, just a little pizza. And maybe with a dab of sauce on it, but not like, you know, with pepperoni and all the other stuff. It's just a little pizza. And on her cart, it says, the sign says, 100, that's 100, and 8, 108. That's what the kind of like the name of this place is, 108. In other words, it costs 100 lira. Now, when I went to Italy in 1960, which was a good 15 years anyway, more after this film, after the era of this film, 100 lira was 16 cents. So let's say it's a dime. Let's say it was a dime. It costs a dime, and you have 8 days to pay for it. We'll give you credit for 8 days. So anyone can find a dime in 8 days was the theory, right? So it's 108. And in it, at one point, now we the audience know what's up. But in the movie, the elderly husband of Sophia says, "Where's your wedding ring? Where's your ring?" I must have dropped it in the pizza. I must have dropped it. So they go, and they make a mark of who owes what, when. So they had to go, and they went to all the different people that had pizza that day or the day before, something like that. Well, of course, we know where it is. It was on her lover's nightstand, right? But there's another custom that was also mentioned in that film, which is a wonderful custom, like 108. It's called caffè sospesi. Caffè sospesi means a coffee in suspense. Let's say that I've had a good day, and I take 2 friends, and we go into a coffee shop, and I say, 3 coffees, I'll pay. I'm going to buy 3 coffees and 2 sospesi, and 2 suspended. That means 2 I'm paying anonymously on credit. They mark it down. In Naples, which is notoriously the den of thieves. However, in this, they're very honest. They mark down 2 sospesi. Now a guy comes by, let's go the next day or later that day, whenever, who needs a cup of coffee, 1 cup of coffee, might turn the whole thing around. Maybe he'd get a job. Maybe things would perk up a little bit. And he leans in and he says, "Ci sono sospesi, are there any suspended?" And the guy says, "Yeah, come on in, have a coffee." And he takes one off the mark, you know. It's a great custom. But they're honest too, so if they say, "No, not today," "Oh, well, goes figures, who's going to save my life today?" Well, off he goes. When the Gold of Naples, Sophia's, the meeting with Sophia, he knew he had something there because she was so earthy and raw. And up comes La Ciociara, which is 2 women. It's a novel by Alberto Moravia about a mother and her daughter, and the daughter's raped by foreign soldiers. And the first casting they wanted was Anna Magnani as the mother and Sophia Loren as the daughter. Well, Sophia Loren was a grown, busty wonderful, lustful woman. Not lustful, but I mean lusty looking woman. So they changed the casting, made her the mother, and they found an American girl, actually, and she played the daughter. And it was a huge success, as you know. Sophia Loren won the Oscar. But along the way, she had to stop being a diva. She wasn't a diva, but I mean, she had to stop being a movie actress. She had to be an earthy woman. So Vittorio made a deal. He said, no makeup. No makeup in this whole film. No makeup. And every morning, she'd come in and he'd say, Kleenex. He'd take a Kleenex and he'd rub it on her face. He said, okay, go back and get it off. Any makeup? Nothing. No, it could have no makeup. Ieri, oggi, and domani. That's an episodic film of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. That's what the three words mean. And in it, there was a guy came up to him after. It was an episodic film in which they played the both leads in each episode, not tied together with the others. That's Marriage Italian Style. In Ieri, oggi, e domani, a man came up. Extras, you know, as I say, extras you can find on the street. They'll do it. And as a matter of fact, there's a story about an extra that came up to be paid at the end, get his his $10, whatever it was, in lira. And he said, they said they got a list. Yeah, what? What's your name? Manganano. Manganano? Manganano. There's no Manganano here. Well, I was here all day. Yeah, but I mean, you're not on the list. Well, you attracted me. You attracted my attention. I didn't go to work today. I had lunch, thank you very much, but I was here all day. When they said move over there, I moved over there. So, so there, everyone wants to be in the film, and everyone could be in the film. Well, this one day, Vittorio was leaving the set, and a guy came up to him. A man came up to him, and practically with tears running down his cheeks said, please, please, Signor DeSica, please, I need some money. I need something. I lost my job. I can't find another job. I have children. My wife left me for another man. I have nothing. I have nothing. Can you please? And Vittorio's in his pocket, ready to pull out some 10,000 lira notes, which, some hundred, not maybe even $150, something like that. And the man, as soon as he sees the money come out, says, I don't need it. I don't need it. I'm an accountant. My wife is at home cooking right now. My children are in school. I have my job. I didn't lose my job. I just want to show you that I don't need you. I don't need you. I don't need your work. I don't need your charity. And walked off. Sorry, Vittorio said, I'm sitting here with this 50 in my hand, waiting, Anyway, now he's getting in color, and he's making films that are a little more commercially accepted all over the world. I mean, back in Italy, even to start with, Marriage Italian Style with Marcello Mastroianni and Sophia Loren. And in the Marriage Italian Style, he liked to take a nap during lunch. He didn't want to eat lunch. He wanted to take a nap. And so when there was a scene in which Sophia was in jail, but it was shot in a male prison. And so they went in, and the prisoners, maybe 4 or 5 in this room, left. And they gave him the cot, and he laid down and went to sleep for his little nap during lunch. When it was time to go, and they all brought the prisoners back, he thanked them each very much. And as he shook their hands, each one said, Manganano, 5 to 10, assault and battery. They gave their name and their credit, but their credit was their sentence, right? So that was it's like he said, I made this in this movie. They'd say, they didn't have to say that, but they'd say, Rossi, aggravated assault, whatever assault. They wouldn't do that. And the last guy didn't say his name. He just said, Signor DeSica. Oddly enough, DeSica is another name. Sica is a knife. But this guy maybe took it off of that, or maybe he just knew. He said, if you want to kill somebody with a knife, or knife somebody, don't do it like this. Don't do it like that. Do it like this. Right? So, thank you very much. Thanks. That's good. That's what I want you to know that. Okay. I went to visit on the set one day, and I came in the back door, at least the door farthest from where the scene was being shot, way it went in. And so I walked this dark length of the stage. And there was Vittorio and Mastroianni, because by now he's shooting indoors, it's more convenient, instead on the street. And they're in their chairs, lit. I could see them because the scene was being lit beyond them, but they were sitting talking about something very intently, very much in each other's face, very much, and they were walking and I was thinking, what could they be talking about? The motivation of the scene, the point of the play. What was it? What was it? I got closer and closer until finally I heard Marcello say, no, no, no. I piselli vanno prima. The pisellis go in first. Then the meat goes in. No, yeah. And they're having an argument about how to cook that lunch that they're going to have, or a lunch. Now, Orson Welles at one point said, another compliment like David Lean kind of thing, he said, Orson Welles, can do anything with a camera. I can put it out on a stick at the end of a cocktail party. But I can't do one thing that DeSica can do, and that's eliminate the camera. You watch a DeSica film, you think you're watching people. You think that they're there somewhere. You don't even question that they're on the wall in a place with I remember when I was a little kid, when I was afraid in movies, something bad was happening, some terrible, scary film. I'd look up and I see the shaft of light and I say, oh yeah, there's a shaft of light that's coming, That's a movie, it's not a real thing happening up there. That gorilla's not going to get those people. Anyway, he could make it disappear. He could make you believe it's gone. He was such a national treasure there in Italy, and the most wonderful person I've met ever.